Hello and welcome back to my channel. So guess what? I've been really busy, and the other day I decided to make my car beautiful, and to do that I sewed some accessories. Now what I'm going to teach you today is probably the accessory that is the most important, the most used, the best thing I've ever made. It's one of these doodads. This goes around your seatbelt and stops it from cutting into your neck. So if you're like me and you get irritated by the seatbelt, I'm going to teach you how to sew this yourself. You can make as many as you like. You can give them to your friends. They are super quick and very beginner friendly. So let's get started. What you're going to need is 2 different types of fabric. So you want your outer fabric that everybody's going to see, and then you want a nice inner fabric for inside. You're also going to need some fleece. This one is fusible fleece. I just got it from Spotlight. The reason it's fusible is, now I don't think you can see this, but you see those little dots on there? So those little dots are dots of glue. So what you're going to need to do is attach this. You'll need 4 pieces cut out to your fabric, and that's what's going to make the cushion inside. You can get normal sew in, so it's not got the glue on it. You just, it attaches as you sew. You don't have to use fleece. You can use batting. So if you've got spare batting from doing your bowl cozies the other day or from making a quilt, you can use that as well. But today we're going to use our fusible fleece. So what we're going to need is, I've already pre-prepared these ones, but I've got an outer fabric. That's the one, what I want everybody to see. I've got an inner fabric, so when we fold it, that's on the inside. You need 2 outer, 2 inner, and then you need 4 of your fleece. Your measurements for this: 10 inches down by 6.5 inches across. You're also going to need some Velcro. Now I'm using the sew-in Velcro. You can get sticky Velcro, but I think the sew-in is much better, because if you're going to be putting it on and off or moving it around, you don't want the Velcro becoming unstuck. Plus it's in the car and the heat can cause the glue to go a bit funny over time. So this is probably your best way. It stays most secure. So you can get your Velcro from anywhere. I bought mine from Spotlight because I wanted a really big amount of it, but you can get it from the $2 shop. You can get it from the reject shop. So don't go spending a lot of money. You can buy just 1 meter of it if that's all you need for today's project. So you're going to need 2 pieces of the hook. That's your more rough, harder side. And then you need 2 pieces of your loops. That's your fluffy side. And they are 8 inches long. Okay? So when we put it together, you will end up with one of these. So let me open and show you what we're doing. So there's your outside with your piece of Velcro down the side. There's your inside with your loops on the inside. It folds together like that around your seatbelt. There you go. So go ahead and cut out your fabric and cut out your fleece. If you are using fusible fleece, just attach it as per the directions on the packet. If there is no packet and you've just got it off the roll from Spotlight, what you're going to do is you're going to take your piece of fabric face down with the wrong side up, and then you're going to put your fusible fleece with the glue side onto the wrong side, so it looks like this. Okay, the way you iron it on, I like to put it with the fabric side up, because this side can melt if your iron is too hot. So put it with your fabric side up onto your ironing board, and then you just press it. You don't iron it, you just press it. Hold it on for a number of seconds, maybe 10 seconds, move it around until it's nice and secure. It doesn't take long, and then you'll have that. Plus, remember, if it's not stuck 100%, you're going to be sewing this together, okay? And what we're also going to do today, just to make this a little bit more fancy, we're going to quilt our fabric. So if you were with me last week when we did the bowl cozies, we did some quilting. So today we're going to do a little bit more quilting with our outer fabrics, and I'll show you how to do that. So go ahead and get all your pieces together and I will meet you back here. Rightio, you've got all your bits and bobs. So quilting, I'm fairly lowbrow when it comes to quilting. It's not something I've done a lot of. I'm certainly not one of those fancy quilters that puts all those beautiful designs over their quilts. That takes a lot of practice and I'm just not there. So what we're going to do is just very basic quilting. And for us, what that means is we are just going to put a couple of lines across our fabric at various intervals. Okay. I am using my quilting foot. So with my quilting foot comes this little doodad. Don't know if you can see that there. So what this does is there's a hole on my quilting foot that this part goes into. And then this bit lines up with either lines that I've marked on my fabric, or I make one starting line and I measure it, accordingly. So this part here runs down the stitch that I've already put in. If you don't have a quilting foot, you don't need one for this project. What you're just going to do is you are going to mark your fabric. Now, if you've got some tailor's chalk, that's good, or a chalky pencil, you can use that. If you've got any erasable ink textures, you can use those as well. Just be mindful that when you've put a mark on your fabric and you iron on top of that mark while it's still visible, it will stay there. So I prefer the chalk because you can just rub it off, okay? So what I'm going to use is I've got some chalky pencils that I bought from the art store. You don't have to be fancy and get these because I think these were about $9 a pencil. But if you go to any $2 shop, they've got chalks and things there. If you go to Spotlight, they've got tailor's chalk as well. Just look in the haberdashery sections in any stores. Big W, Target as well, they've got tailor's chalk. So for you guys who are not using this little, I don't even know what it's called, to be honest. It just measures my space because I can adjust it in and out. So if you're not using this, I'll show you how we're going to just mark our fabric. So you don't have to be too fancy. I'm just going to eyeball it. So I've just put a diagonal line up on my corner. I think that looks pretty good for me. And I'm just going to put a line down there. And then I'm going to eyeball it again. Now you can measure it if you want it. Maybe you want it 2 inches. So you can mark it, just eyeball it. And there's your 2 inches. I'm going to eyeball it again. That looks about right, 2 inches. So if you wanted to do that, go ahead and put some lines that you can follow and I'll meet you over at the machine. Okay, so we're ready to quilt our outer fabrics. I'm using my walking foot. So as you can see, I've got my walking foot attached. You don't have to have a walking foot. So just like we did with our bowl cozies, if you don't have a walking foot, don't get stressed out. Don't go buying extra feet that you don't need. You can just use your regular foot for this, okay? But the reason I like my walking foot, because like I explained with the bowl cozies, it's got the feed dogs on the top part, and there's also feed dogs in your machine, and I just find it pulls through nicely and I get a nice finish. But I have done this with a regular foot, so it does turn out lovely. Don't stress. So I'm going to use my little measuring tool, which goes into a hole in my walking foot. So I just pop that in there. and taking our fabric that we've already put our lines, we've already measured up what we want. So I am going to find one of those lines, which I can't see very well in this light, but there, I think that's it there. So I'm going to do my first line, which is here. Now, normally you can start in the middle and then either go from the middle out to either side, but I'm just going to go from this edge. Like I said, I'm fairly low brow when it comes to quilting. We're not going to get stressed about it, okay? Now, you don't have to start with a back stitch for your lines. You can just get sewing straight away. So I've lined up my line, and here I go. I'm going to cut my thread and move my fabric over. So I've got my first line. I'm going to find my other line that I drew on. So I've measured up roughly 2 inches space. And so there you can see I'm going to use my measuring tool. So I'll move that tool in a little bit. So that edge of that tool is now lined up with that stitch. So when I sew, you'll see that that follows this line, which means I continually keep my 2-inch space. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm a little bit off. Move that in. There we go. There we go. Cut our thread. So there we go. You can see I have 2 nice lines and I've managed to keep my 2 inches across. So you guys go ahead and finish that as well. Either follow the lines you've marked, or if you're using a walking foot with a tool, use that. And I will meet you once you've put all your lines on. Okay, we're going to do both pieces and I'll meet you back over at the table. Okie dokie, we've got our quilted outer pieces. Just grab your 2 inner pieces as well. And this is where we want to attach our Velcro. So I'm just going to show you how we line that up. So grab a piece. It doesn't matter whether you use, which side of it you use. What we want to do is just pop it. Actually, I'll use this one so you can see it. It's a bit closer to the camera. I like to put it about 1 inch from the top and 1 inch from the bottom. So make that as even as you can. You can just eyeball it. If you need to mark it, just grab a pencil and pop a little line at the top and at the bottom. And then I usually put it about 1/2 inch from the side, because when we sew this together, we need to remember our seam allowance, and we're also going to do a top stitch all around it as well, just to give it a nice border. So this gives us room to do that. Now you can pin this or you can clip it. I'm just going to eyeball it because that's what I'm going to do. So you guys don't stress, okay? But if you want to put some clips or pins, go ahead. So you're going to measure those up on each piece. Let's go over to the machine and we're going to do a stitch all the way around as a border. So I'm going to just start with one of my top pieces. So I'm just eyeballing that. 1 inch at the top, 1 inch at the bottom, and about 1/2 inch in. I can remove this thing now. This was my size gauge. I'll remove that. Now you want to sew on the edge. So you're probably going to be coming in about 2 millimeters. So I'm just going to pop my needle in and see where I am. Yep, that looks about good to me. So we're just going to go all the way around it, about 2 millimeters in from the edge of your Velcro. You do want to start with a back stitch. There we go. A nice steady pace. Now just remembering, you want your needle in, foot up, turn your work, foot back down. Go across the bottom. Looks about right. Foot up, turn your work, foot back down, leaving your needle in. So go ahead and do this on all 4 pieces, and I'll show you how to put the rest together. Okay, so you've got all your parts. You've now stitched on your Velcro all the way around. We're going to put it together. So you will need some pins or clips for this. So what we want to do is you want to take one outer and one inner, and you want to put them face down. So you want one Velcro on one side and one Velcro on the other side. So you don't want 2 Velcros together. You want them on opposite sides, right sides of your fabric together. So this is where you can pin or clip your work in place. So I'm only just going to put a couple in just for the sake of showing you guys this video. And we want to make sure what we're doing is leaving an opening down the bottom. So if you think you're going to remember how to do that, then you don't need to mark it. But if you think you might forget and sew through it, just go ahead and draw yourself a little line so you know this is where you don't want to sew. You don't want to sew that, okay? Sometimes I like to just put a pin on each end to remind myself. There we go. So do that with both pieces, and I'm going to meet you over at the machine. What we're going to do is we're going to start on one end, and we're going to start sewing all the way around our work and stopping at this gap, leaving this so we can pull it the right way around. I'll meet you over there. Okay, so just grab one of your sets, remembering your gap. I'm going to start from this side of my gap, the bottom side there. Foot down, needle in, and I'm going to remove my pin. So remembering to remove your pins as you go. So that to me is 1/4 of an inch or thereabouts. We're going to do good enough sewing. It's good enough. There we go. Needle in. I'm going to start with a back stitch like always. Up to our corner. I'm removing my pin, leave my needle down, foot up, turn your work, foot back down. Now just maintaining that 1/4 inch as close as we can, removing our pins as we go. So go ahead and do that. Go all the way around your work, come back to your gap and finish with a back stitch there, leaving your gap open. Do that on both parts and I'll meet you over at the table. Now, we're up to the bit just before we put it the right way around, okay? So grab a pair of scissors. Don't throw them at yourself. We just want to trim our corners. So like we did with the bowl cozies, you don't want to cut through that stitch. So if you need to put your finger there so that you know not to cut through your finger, put my nail where the corner is, give it a snip, and now I know that I'm not going through my thread. Okay, so do that on all 4 corners on both of your pieces. and then we're going to turn it the right way out. Now, remember you're turning inside your two fabrics, not inside your line. So if this is coming loose like mine is, don't turn that. We want to turn these bits. So just, I like to get my finger right up into that corner and then kind of push it with my finger. So I'm getting a bit of a corner that comes out, and that's the one I'm going to use to gently pull it through. You don't have to yank it through, just be careful. You don't want any of your stitches bursting. Now, some people have got these fancy little doodahs called corner pointers. We don't have that. We have our very professional and my favorite chopstick. I think it works better. I like just the point of it. And this is not professional sewing. This is spare room sewing or corner of the lounge room sewing. This is good enough sewing. This is get you started into a nice hobby that you like sewing. So don't go running around buying extra things. If you want to go and buy a corner pointer, go ahead. You might find them useful. I just have never bothered, and I like my trusty chopstick. So that's how professional we are over here. Like I said, I'm pretty lowbrow. I'm lowbrow at the quilting, and I'm lowbrow at a lot of the sewing as well. It's just good enough. We're getting it good enough so that it stays together and it looks nice. So there we go. We have now put this the right way round, and we can feel it's nice and soft. So what we want to do now is we want to tuck in the bottom. So to do that, just get your pins ready, tuck any little threads in. I like to pop my fingers into the corner of the gap and just pull it taut. You don't have to pull it hard, just enough that you see it naturally close on itself. It naturally folds in and closes on itself. So now you can either use a pin or if you've got clips. So I'm going to put one in the middle, one on each side of my gap, like that. And then we're going to do a top stitch across the edge of our work all the way around. So turn both your pieces the right way out, and I'll meet you over at the machine and we'll do our top stitch. So we've got our two parts, and we're going to do our top stitch, which is basically just going to finish off our work and give it a nice finish. And it also helps to close this part down the bottom. So I've pinned it. I'm going to start sewing from the top of my gap, which is around here. And you only want to come in about, not even a 1/4 inch, so probably about 2-3 millimeters. I'm just going to place my foot there. I'm just eyeballing it. I want to just make sure that when I stitch, I am actually closing the two pieces of fabric together. So I'm closing up that gap and having that nice edge all the way around. So I'm going to start with my back stitch as always, removing my first pin and just following that down. I've lined it up with a little section on my foot where I can see the edge of my fabric on that section of the foot. So that's going to help me maintain that line all the way around. So just make sure you're taking your pins out. All the way to our corner, leaving about, I guess it may even be a 1/4 inch now that I'm looking at it, probably less. So just stop there, needle down, foot up. Actually, I want to go over one more. There we go. There we go. If you need to, just give it a bit of a roll and just see how you can get it nice and flat. And just nice and slowly maintaining a nice speed. So go all the way around your edge to where you started and finish with a back stitch. When you've done both of your pieces, I'll meet you over at the table. I bet you finished. Okay, grab your little snips or your scissors and just go around and snip off any threads that are long and hanging around. Just get rid of those. Do that on both pieces. And you have finished your project. So there we have. All you now need to do is fold it. So fold that bit down like that. Fold the bottom bit up like that so your Velcro attaches. And you have your seatbelt cover. There you go. And you've done two, so you've got one for yourself and one for your passenger. See how quick that was? It might feel like it's taken a little while because this is your first time, but once you've done one or two of these, you're going to be whipping these up in about 10 minutes for a pair. So that's pretty good. And then your friends are going to start asking for them. So that's even better. So congratulate yourself. You've done a new project and you've done more quilting. So it's not too scary, is it? I know. I held off for ages doing quilting because I was like, oh my God, it's hard. I don't know what to do. And now that I've started doing it, I should have done it ages ago. But that's it. Low brow, corner of the lounge room, spare room sewing, low brow quilting. This is all we need. Good enough sewing. It gives you a nice project. It'll make your car fun and you'll feel good about yourself because you've done something. So go ahead and finish your projects. Put it in the comments. Show me what you've made. I really want to see everything that you've made. Okay, so share that with us. Now, you can like and subscribe if you like my channel. You can find me on Facebook as well, Ruby Says So, Instagram, Ruby Says So. So I'll put a link in my comments down below so you can find me and follow me as well. All right. Thank you again, guys, and I'll see you next time.